Folks, I've got somebody, a brother from down under, or as some people like to say, across the pond in some cases. But he's from Perth, Australia. And he's right there on our screen. Matt Cahill, folks. He's the lead of the Matt Cahill trio. And he decided to say yes to my interview request, which is something that I absolutely have no words to say thank you so much for this. So Matt, let's start at the beginning. The reason why I decided to actually contact you was because of the Midnight Show, which is an album that got released into 2025. Also, we wanted to know a little bit more about you. So, when did you discover that you wanted to become a musician, or when did you actually started playing guitar and anything else that you actually decided to explore?
Sure. So, thank you for having me on the show. Much appreciated for reaching out. I've been playing music a long time. I moved up to Perth, Western Australia. We call it sunny Perth because it's always quite warm and hot. And we started playing music in different bands and recorded with a couple bands. One in particular was a rockabilly band, and played in that lineup for 10 years. We did a few tours of the US, played at the Viva Las Vegas Rockabilly Festival, which was great, as well as Ink and Iron in Long Beach. So that was a good rockabilly outfit called Rusty and the Dragstrip Trio. Recorded a couple albums, but this latest album is really my lineup with more swing jazz type musicians. So it's a little bit of a tribute to some of the swing era, really, but it's got a mix. It's got some rockabilly feel in there. It's got some swing in there. It's got some low key sort of jazzy numbers as well. All originals. So I didn't put any covers on this one. Just wrote a bunch of tunes and released it. And it's a pretty good sound. I'm pretty happy with it. There's a few things I might have changed, but to answer the question, been doing this for quite a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of this lineup, the first album.
So for the first album, when did you actually put everything together to start do the recording?
Yeah, so it took probably a good part of it, over a year and a half maybe. So I was down south surfing on a holiday, and I had this holiday house we were staying at the time. I had this little room. I took some recording, some mic and a little unit to record, and my acoustic, and started just putting down a few different tracks. And then over the course of the year, in 2024, I was just coming up with ideas. I put the tracks down acoustically first, and then would start bringing out some of the other melodies and the brass instruments, and start bringing the other guys into the studio to finish off the tune.
Okay. Because I know I listened to the whole album 3 times today. And I actually enjoyed it because it flows. It's a jovial jaunt in jazz stylings. The fact that the melodies are addictive, to say the least, is a true test. The album, folks, if you want to see the album, it's available through Spotify. It's a nice designed album. In regards to the look, it actually captures your eye, but it's the sound inside the album that actually makes the magic come alive. There's 10, is it 10? I can't remember.
Yeah, 10 tracks.
10 tracks, and at least two of those 10, one of them does fall in the blues category, and Cookie might fall in that, but I'm not quite sure. I can't remember the melody. So
yeah, so there is quite a bluesier sort of one in there. Cookie's probably a bit more of a swing number.
Yeah.
But yeah, let me just have a look at the so the album does have, there's probably, I'd say maybe just one bluesy one, because the other one is quite jazzy and blue, but Sugar Blues was a song in the style of a 12-bar blues, which just talks about needing sugar in one's diet, going to the cupboard and trying to find some chocolate, but it's not there, unfortunately. But then, it's sort of the lyrics are play around that type of theme as well, and in the old style of the blues guys in the 30s.
Yeah.
Most of the time they're talking about the opposite sex in terms of wanting some sugar, and so that's a bit of a play on words as well.
The album itself is actually quite tremendous. Can you tell us about the people that actually played with you on this album?
Yeah, some great musicians out of Perth. Starting with Lockie Glover, who plays multiple instruments. He's a fantastic trumpet player, and also a tenor sax player. Very popular as a jazz musician in Perth. Very young, in his early 20s, and so he would come in the studio, and I would say, this song has a melody like this, blah da da da, be da ba do ba, and then he would just basically play. I wouldn't have any I wouldn't be very organised and have charts for these guys. Mm-hmm. So I play a melody, but he really came out on the solos where I'll just say, do your thing.
Okay.
And in the solos, it'd be basically one take would be perfect. So he was absolutely fantastic.
Okay.
And Bronton Ainsworth on the drums, plays with some great bands around Western Australia, such as Adam Hall and the Velvet Playboys band that are very popular. They tour Europe, and they've done very well. And so Bronton's the main drummer, and I snuck him away from that lineup and got him on the album, which was fun. But I can never really get him to play in the live lineup because he's always away touring.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he's a fantastic drummer as well. Alex Parkinson on the trombone. He's a great player. All these guys are music teachers as well as full-time musicians. And yeah, who else was there? There was Kieran Barnes on upright bass, and I also got Richard Timms playing as well. And yeah, so it's a great lineup of musicians.
Okay, but that's the album. Now, when you released the album, I'm assuming that you were doing gigs, probably touring a bit. Did you have a particular band of merry men that actually would go with you on the road?
Yeah, so Lockie, he plays with me quite regularly.
Okay.
as well as Alex Parkinson on the trombone, Kieran Barnes, he's always playing as well. A guy called William Chu who plays drums, absolutely amazing drummer. He'll be on the next recording, which I'm planning to finish this year. And but when I do go overseas, sometimes it's just getting some local jazz musos to come up on stage and play. And jazz musicians are fantastic, where you keep the form and the formula, and if you've got lead sheets, they can essentially just rock up an hour before the gig, and then do a couple tops and tails, and then they're ready to go. I did this jazz gig in Barcelona, and I met the guys literally an hour before the show, and we had a blast. It was a great gig, and they were amazing. And so there's been many occasions where I've required, we call it a deputy, where someone had to fill in last minute.
Okay.
And I'm usually pretty organised to have all the charts available for guys. So when they come in, they can, they follow the formula and can play, and usually it's good fun.
Are you sending out leads, feelers in regards to, I need this to happen at such a location, like the Barcelona example? What, did you actually request local musicians to come and sign or line up?
Yeah, I'd usually, organise the gig first, and once I've found a gig, a good jazz bar or venue, I would then, I'd lock that in, and then I'd go, okay, geez, who am I going to get to play? So then I'd sort of find someone on social media where I've looked and I've seen who they've played with and how they play, and then I'd reach out and say, hey, I'm in town on this date. Are you available?
Well, that's the beauty of music, be it jazz or blues or any type of music. Since you do rock, you still have rockabilly behind you as your foundation. You meet the talent wherever it is, and they'll be glad to actually be part of it if you need them. The camaraderie is impossible to replicate in many instances, because you've got snobbiness for certain styles, but jazz isn't one of them, at least not swing jazz. And blues, it's not even close. Rockabilly, it's whoever wants to play, who wants to actually throw in their weight to actually make it sound stupendously great. Now this album came out, so you're already talking about a new album that's going to be coming out soon. So have you started recording? I'm assuming that you've amassed all the seedlings that you cultivated in regards to the songs, and pruned them and weaned them and gave them a good watering and grew them to their full potential. So right now you're just waiting to eventually sit down and record and possibly do some rearranging in regards to certain of the songs that you're going to be doing. But are we looking at the same type of style for the next album?
Yeah, the tunes are taking shape. There's sometimes I lay them down, and then I might change. Add a different type of middle eight, or introduce a different melody. There was a couple tunes on the last album which, they weren't really going to make it, because I just felt that they weren't quite right. But then brought in a different melody at some point, which just gave the song new life. So I'm going through that process now. I've probably got maybe 6 or 7 songs down, and before I bring the other guys in, I want to make sure that the melody really works. And you mentioned, at the start of the interview that the melody, some of the songs, they sounded quite nice with the melody. Melody's really important for me, and it's it comes quite easily to my songs in terms of the melody is what I sort of lay down first. What I find hard is then putting the lyrics, later on writing, some lyrics that will suit that melody in the song, whereas, others might more be poetic and, write lyrics first. So melody and the tune as a whole, I can put that down quite easily, but then after a while, if the song doesn't stick, then I know it's probably not quite right.
Okay.
So going through that process now, and there's some great tunes. Is it going to be similar to the Midnight Show? Yes, it's
similar-ish.
I'll probably continue with that feel where it's got some swingy, it's got some bluesy ones, and it's a bit of a mixture.
Okay.
I mean, I could write just a complete swing out and just stay in that lane and in that genre.
Blues and swing are depending on the type of blues. There's some that actually fall on that fine line in regards to jazz and blues. So they're yin and yang when it comes to it. There's many songs or styles out there that are yin and yang to jazz and blues, but really, if you take them these two forms as a whole, they're like an Oreo cookie. The white stuff is the jazz, and the chocolate cookie is the blues.
Yeah, so the blues is great, and you got to have I like to have a blues tune on the albums. Certainly with the old rockabilly lineup, Rusty and the Drag Strip Trio, we'd always have some blues in there, inspired by the likes of Muddy Waters or Big Joe Turner, Arthur Crudup, some of those type of artists. But in terms of the swing, probably go back to Charlie Christian and Benny Goodman and the type of feel that come out of those bands at the time. And I've got a couple songs on there that are what we call contrafacts, which are the formula of a song from that era. But I've put new melody, new lyrics over the top of it, new sound over the top of it. And so Jumping at the Astor is one of those, as well as Cookie. And Cookie is probably more similar to like a Rose Room, which was written by was played by Benny Goodman and Charlie Christian played on there. And Charlie Christian was this guy that brought this sound that had never been heard before, because they just made an electric guitar which he could plug in, and then he could compete with the horn section, because all of a sudden this guitar thing was amped up and it was loud, and instead of doing loud chunk noises and chord solos, he just did these single line bebop things, and everyone's going, wow, what the hell is that? So welcome, the birth of the electric guitar.
Yeah.
And so Cookie, the song Cookie was based on Benny Good, or it wasn't written by Benny Goodman, but a song called The Rose Room, and there's a bit of Charlie Christian style on there, albeit dumbed down to my level, but some nice simple melodies on guitar over that number, and also Jumping at the Astor. They're quite similar sort of guitar solos, but it takes a lot from what Charlie Christian did when he was in the Benny Goodman sextet.
Oh.
And I was lucky enough to, when I was in New York, to meet who's now a friend, and I get guitar lessons off him every now and then. A man called Chris Flory, who played with Benny Goodman in Benny Goodman's later years. Chris Flory played with Benny, I think for over maybe 7 years, 10 years, toured with him in Europe, and so he's a great guitarist, and he's a New York native, and whenever I go there, I'll go over to his apartment and we'll sit down and have a bit of a jam. So it's just amazing that he's probably one of the last connections to, this Benny Goodman sextet that played in the 30s, and obviously Benny Goodman's long past now, but Chris Flory might be in his late 70s, and yet a great guitarist, so influenced by him as well.
I've had the chance to actually see the orchestra, because there's a few of these legends have a core membership that actually does tours, and they do. I saw one in 20 years ago. It was kind of during the swing era, so we had some people dressed up. We had ballroom dancers, and we had a group of teens dressed up in zoot suits. So they were doing their thing. They were demonstrating their art, and we had the incredible chops coming from the band. And then there was a recent tour that it was a slightly smaller ensemble, but big enough to take up the whole Capitol Theatre stage down on Main Street here in Moncton. It was a kind of a pre-Christmas show, but so they did a lot more Christmas tunes than anything else, but they threw in a few well-known tunes outside of the Christmas genre, just to let us know that they're not just Christmas. So the incredible thing about jazz is that you can get a lot of inspiration from things around you, your life, your love, friends, family, supper, dinner. Anything can spark up little motes of magical inspiration. But it takes talent to take that and weave it into something that you can actually use, and to modify it to suit your needs. Like you mentioned, not all songs are going to be perfect. And in some cases, artists like yourself decide, okay, I'm not canning this one. I'll put it on the back burner and I'll work on it again. It's not right. I don't want it recorded for posterity as it is, because it just doesn't feel right at the moment. But the midnight show.
The midnight show.
Thank you. Is spectacularly well formatted and well put together. There's no bad points about this album, which now begs the question how high the bar will be for the new one that you're going to be eventually sitting down and creating it. But I know you're gonna make it. You're gonna make it pop and sizzle in such a way that it'll probably surpass the midnight show. So
well, it is a great sound, and I have a home studio, but the majority was recorded at Pete Buttle's a studio in North Perth, and he's an amazing sound producer, and the sound is pretty amazing. It's very professional, and so yeah, the sound of the album, I'd like to have the same sort of production for the next one. Whether the songs will be as good is yet to be seen. I'm pretty confident that some of the new tunes will be great. Not only great tunes, but also good swing dancing numbers as well. But I'll probably put a bit of rock and roll in there. That's closer to some of the rockabilly stuff as well. So it'll be quite a dancing type album. maybe a couple sort of melodic numbers on there as well. But we'll see how it comes out.
Do you have a title for the new album that you're currently working on?
No, not yet. I'm just haven't really got that. I couldn't say I have at the moment. Just got a few different type of tunes on there that I've been recording. So haven't got a name for it yet. I'll have to think of something clever.
So apart from you being a musician, you're also a very human being. Do you take time for any hobbies to actually let you get inspiration?
So probably a lot of guitar playing in my spare time. That's a hobby. I do work. I've got a tech business, so that takes up a lot of my time, and obviously family, and
And surfing once in a while.
In Perth here, there's lots of sharks. So in Australia, there's lots of big great white sharks, and so surfing.
So I heard.
I'm always looking around and going, if I can't see very clear in the water, I get a little bit worried. But I've been chased out of the water before.
Oh, really?
Surfing's such a fun sport, and in Australia here we have lots of hot weather, we have lots of beaches, and surfing is very popular hobby over here. In fact, we're getting a lot of these surf parks built now, which essentially is all the fun minus the sharks.
You mean the water parks with surfing type
waves,
jets? Okay. They have something similar in the U.S., but it's one of them. Jonathan Root. He toured. He's a juggler and a standing comedian. Basically, he likes to juggle. And he developed a taste for what they call a wave board, which is basically half the length, if not a quarter length, of what a surfboard is.
Yep.
Sadly, he ended up. This was on the sea, mind you, on our end of the world. The great whites don't really come close to shore, but he ended up breaking. Injuring his knee to a point that he couldn't use it for a while. And that was because of a dismount that he did that it unfortunately twisted his leg. But the parks are all designed to... There's a big wave board community over in California. And then they just do what they can. And here in Moncton... There's a small community of like-minded individuals for surfing that decide that the tidal bore is great for surfing. I don't know if you've ever heard of the tidal bore here in Moncton, but basically the Bay of Fundy, when it acts on the river, it literally pushes water in or sucks it out. And during those changes, the waves are greater. So it's great enough to propulse surf dudes that
I've
want...
seen it.
Yeah, you've seen it?
I'm not too sure if it's where your location is, but yeah, I've seen the rivers when the tides change and the seas coming in, and it'll cause that, the wave, and you can essentially surf it, or even when there's big changes in the sea coming into the river, there can be some big waves.
Yeah.
There's a famous spot. I don't know if it's the spot you're talking about, but yeah, I've seen it and I've gone, well, man, what's in those rivers? They'll have leeches or piranhas or electric eels, or over here the estuaries you wouldn't surf in there if you're up north because it's crocodile territory.
Oh,
You just get eaten.
No, in Moncton, there might be leeches, although the way the Petitcodiac River is was put into place by hundreds of years of use, because Moncton used to be dabbling in boating cargo coming through. Some people used to fish, but then they dammed it up with a floodgate barrier that they'd open once in a while, but it built up the silt in the portion that was prior to that actual barrier, and it created an artificial lake on the other side where they dammed up some locations. Properties were built. Eventually, in the last 20 years, they slowly came to realization that they need to reopen the river fully and to drain the lake and to just put it back as it was. And that's what we've got. The only thing is that you don't want to be stuck in low tide because it's clay-like mud, so you can get stuck, you can sink. We've rescued umpteenth amount of moose that actually decided to go on the flat at the wrong time. And actually we had to rescue at least one or two surfers that were stranded and they couldn't really get out. Because you'd have to spend a good amount of time until the water would actually come back and give you buoyancy, or possibly put your life in danger, because if you can't get unstuck, you're going to drown.
Sounds dangerous.
It does, but apparently it's the thing that I've seen more than once, so I can't complain. If someone has fun, they have fun. Now, the last question I have is, what's your favorite food dish? And by that I mean, if I gave you a buffet with a cornucopia of foods, there'd always be one that you'd pick over and over again first.
Good question. Probably with my Italian heritage, I'd have to say, I was going to say pasta, but if there was some pizza next to it, I'd probably go the pizza.
Any particular style of pizza that you enjoy?
Anything with salsiccia on there, so or pepperoni, with sausage on there. It's a nice pizza, a simple pizza.
Simple pizza.
Simple pizza. The old Italian, the thin crust ones. That's really nice. And often after a gig, during the last song, I'm thinking, should I get a kebab or should I get a pizza? Should I get after the show?
Oh well, they're great choices. So with this, I have nothing else to say. Well, there's one last question that I failed to ask beforehand. I'm assuming that you've got plans for vinyl on either the Midnight Show or the new album?
Oh yeah, so Midnight Show is available on vinyl already.
Okay.
So I've got if you search up or go to my website, the Matt Cahill combo, or search up Matt Cahill combo Midnight Show, you should be able to find the vinyl. I've got a few of those pressed. I've got CDs pressed as well, and I love vinyl, so it's just great to have an album on vinyl, and but obviously most of the people are listening on Spotify or Apple Music, so it's there too. But if you want to support the musicians that played on the album and the amount of work that went onto it, if your listeners dig the sound, appreciate it if you can take a look at the vinyl.
Yeah.
So and in terms of the next album, most likely get some release on vinyl as well. It's just cool. It's, nice and big, and you sort of take out the sleeve, put it down.
But
so you've done a bit of work to get to the song as opposed to just click.
True, because you can't skip on the vinyl. You have to put the needle on the first track and then let it play, and then you get the full experience. Sadly, I don't own a record player, but that's probably going to change because I grew up in a generation where 8-track tapes were a very big thing. Tape decks were just beyond the horizon at that point, and vinyl was being played, be it 45s or the short 45s or the regular formats, two-sided. You just went, and as soon as the needle reached the end, you just flipped it over, and then you played the other side to see exactly what was happening. So, Mike, thank you so much. This means a lot for the fact that you do what you do, and you do it so well. Now we have your face, your voice, and your music available to us here in Canada. For myself, it's more the maritime. So you're looking at New Brunswick, PEI, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, and Labrador, which are part of that particular type of islands. But New Brunswick is closer to Maine. So if you ever decide to come for an East Coast tour of Canada, well, we're farther than Quebec. We're down, but there's a lot of places that would actually enjoy what you have to offer. That's a guarantee.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd love to see that part of the world. It sounds amazing. Thanks for having me on your show.
No, thank you for taking the time, and sorry for yesterday.
No problem at all.
Have a nice
great day ahead. Great evening.
Likewise.